Hi guys, the discussion on body on frame versus unibody stirred up a lot more questions than it answered perhaps. And one of them, maybe it's an overarching question, is what is the best platform for pro touring? It's definitely a loaded question with a million answers. Some will say it's, the best platform is whatever you like. While there is some truth to that, I'm going to lay out some judging criteria and give my opinion. So here it goes. So what platform is best for pro touring? As they say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So here are 4 judging criteria that we're going to go by. Comfort. Pro touring means you're supposed to be able to drive coast to coast in them, right? So from owning race cars, this is something that I've come to value. In my experience, the cars that you could drive every day, those are the ones that actually get driven. So number 2 is look. Having that low slung look, that aggressive look with the large tires, that's essential to any pro touring car or truck. That's something that Dale talked about in our What is Pro Touring video. The third one is handling. Seems obvious, but performance is a large part of pro touring. You're going to need plenty of grip. You're going to need braking, and you're going to need the ability to turn left and right at a high rate of speed and with some degree of confidence. So hopefully a high degree of confidence. And then the fourth one is power. This may seem a little not as obvious as the other ones, but the chances are that you're going to swap your factory engine for something more potent. And frankly, some platforms are better for that than others. So we'll go over that here in a second. Okay, let's get down to it. Comfort. Having sat in quite a few, you would be hard pressed to convince me to drive across the country in a 68 to 72 Corvette. Looks great. Sitting in it for a cross country drive, no thanks. So, I'm building a GTO. It's a big surprise. I think GM A-bodies, particularly the 68 to 72, I think those are the best platforms here in providing a comfortable, roomy interior without the added weight of a large platform. Notice I said 68 to 72 because those are smaller than the first generation A-bodies. If you are okay sacrificing a little performance, it doesn't get much more plush than an A-body wagon. So something to think about. Look. Okay, look, that's the second criteria. Sorry, a Mini Cooper isn't going to cut it with those pizza cutters. There are other platforms that just don't lend themselves well either. Only a few years ago, trucks would qualify for that. Like you could not get out of that 4x4 stance in a truck unless you built yourself a full tube chassis. But now there's bolt-on chassis for these things. QA1's doing some nice suspension. There's, you can C-notch the frame. You can get that look with a truck now. That said, there is nothing that screams, out of the box, there's nothing that screams pro touring more to me than a slammed second gen F body. You can put a huge set of rubber in them front and rear. Traditionally, it's been Camaros, but as of late, I've seen a few really gorgeous Firebirds that have really made me think twice about getting a second gen. So handling, shoebox Novas, Tri-5s, virtually any classic truck is not a great platform out of the box for handling. That said, if you're handy with a welder, your fortune could change there. Meanwhile, some platforms were just made from day one to be performance vehicles. The perfect examples of that are a Corvette or a Cobra. They were designed from day one. That's what they were designed to do. They've got a wheelbase and suspension design that just needs a few tweaks. And the wheelbase is a very big deal when it comes to autocross. And maybe that's something we'll talk about in a later episode. But again, we're talking about platforms that out of the box are very well handling. You saw it with Brian Hobaugh's Corvette that won the Optima Ultimate Streetcar Invitational. I mean, that car is a factory chassis. He's got some control arms, maybe some different leaf springs and shocks, but you know, that is just a great platform out of the box for handling. Power. The 65 to 73 Mustangs and Falcons of the same era are the perfect example of an unfriendly platform for making power. It's very tight in that engine bay. You can't really fit much in there. Thankfully, the aftermarket has helped solve these issues over the years, but again, it is going to take quite a bit of work to overcome. GMA bodies, F bodies, Mopar B bodies, and full-size trucks, they rule the roost here. You know, there is so much room for activities inside that engine bay. A lot of these, they came with the biggest of big blocks to begin with. So their engine bays were designed to fit large engines. So you can put pretty much anything you want in those platforms. So the overall conclusion here, guys, is that I am clearly biased to GMA bodies. But if you want it bad enough, you can overcome nearly any platform challenges with some compromises. For example, the lightweight of a Chevy 2 or the early Mustangs and Falcons, like I mentioned, they could be a huge performance advantage if you've got the proper suspension underneath of it. Who knows what somebody could do with a 61 to 63 Tempest or a Corvair with that tremendously advantageous weight balance. And to me, the art is in taking a Tri-5, you know, or something like that that's built in an era before, you know, 0 to 60 testing, quarter-mile testing was even a selling point. I mean, performance wasn't really even a consideration in something like that when they were building those. But, you know, you're able to use ingenuity and your you know, the finest parts of the aftermarket offers, and you're able to add those elements to it, and you know, you can build something from the ground up that can hustle the cones like a modern sports car. To me, I mean, that's really is the art of pro touring, is taking a platform like that and creating something incredible out of it. But, and this is a huge but, if you don't have the dollars, you don't have the fab skills, you might want to use this as your guide for your next pro touring project. Thanks for joining me, guys. See you next time.